Okay, so today we are going to start talking about geometric shapes and angles. So we are starting now geometry or geometric shapes basically. Okay, and we're going to start with vertical angles. And when you view the video, I'm going to post a page with a lot of vocabulary and defining a lot of stuff, so you might want to check that out because it would be good for you to either screenshot it or to have that vocabulary so you understand what I'm talking about if I ask you to go back to vertical angles or adjacent angles. So let's start with vertical angles. Vertical angles, it says angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles. So if you look at angle 1, here's angle 1 right here, and if you look at angle 3, they are vertical angles. And basically, vertical angles are going to be the angles that make a V together. So for example, this would be angle 1, and you see how it kind of makes a V. And then this would be angle 3, and it also makes a V. So angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles, meaning that their angles have the same degree, and they share the same vertex. Basically, the bottom of the angle is the same for angle 1 and angle 3. And you notice the rays of the angle do not touch. So because angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles, they have the same measure. So however big angle 1 is, angle 3 is going to be the same. And that could also go with angle 2 and angle 4. Angle 2 and angle 4 are going to be vertical angles. See how it makes the V and the V? And therefore, whatever the measure for angle 2 is, it's also going to be the same for angle 4. And right here, when I say this right here, with this little sign, this is equal, this is congruent. And congruent means that they are the same size and the same shape. So if this one's 90 degrees, that one's 90 degrees. So now let's talk about adjacent angles. Adjacent means basically side by side. They're going to share a common side. So look here, when we said angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent. If you see right here, there's angle 1, there's angle 2. If you can tell that they're going to share this side right there. They're adjacent, they're side by side. Angle 1 and angle 4 are adjacent, they're side by side. Angle 4 and angle 3 are side by side, and angle 2 and angle 3 are side by side. Now, adjacent does not mean that the angles are the same or congruent. Adjacent angles, are just going to say that they're located by each other. So there's nothing here like up here at vertical angles, they would be congruent, they'd be equal. Adjacent, no, that's just telling you that they're side by side. Then you have acute angles. For example, angle A, B, C. And acute angles are going to be angles less than 90 degrees. Right angles are going to be angles who are only 90 degrees. So for example, DEF, and you can see that there's a right angle indicator right there. Only 90 degrees. Can't be 89 degrees, can't be 91 degrees, only 90 degrees. Then you have an obtuse angle, which is over or more than 90 degrees. And an obtuse, obtuse over 90 degrees, so it's kind of like the big angle. This is angle GHJ. And some quick facts. To name angles, the vertex is the middle letter, so it's A, B, C, B is in the middle, D, E, F, E is in the middle, H is in the middle. Or you can call the angle by the vertex letter, so angle B, angle E, angle H. Vertex is the point of the angle, so here's the vertex, is the point of the angle where the two rays meet, where the two lines or the rays meet. And supplementary angles are going to be angles that add up to 180 degrees. And the way I remember supplementary angles in 180 degrees is if you make an S, it's almost like an 8. And so I just kind of fill it in. And then complementary angles are going to add up to 90. And the same thing, I just make a C and then turn it into a 90. to remember that supplementary are going to be angles that are going to add up to a sum of 180 degrees, and complementary are going to add up to 90 degrees. So we have 2 examples and then we are done. So here we have a problem and we want to solve for x and y. Now after this problem, I don't expect you to be a rocket scientist, excuse me. So we will be practicing in class. This is just an example, so if you need to pause, you're fine. Now here you have to know that vertical angles are congruent. This angle and this angle are congruent, meaning it's equal. So 3 times y minus 10 is equal to 50. And then I can easily, this is a 2-step equation, I can easily solve for y. I add 10 on both sides. And I do that so I can, 0's your hero, cancels out, I'm left with 3y. And that's equal to 50 plus 10, which is 60. Y is my variable. To get it by itself, I need to divide it by 3. That's 1, I'm left with y. 60 divided by 3 is 20. So I know y is 20 degrees. For x, because these two are vertical angles, these two are vertical angles, and they'll be congruent. So I can do the same thing. 2 times x plus 2 is equal to 130. So I need to solve for x. 2-step equation. Subtract 2. Zeroes out. 2 times x is equal to 128. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. You're left with x. That'd be 64. And that's what x would be. So you're going to have to know here, you're going to have to know your previous knowledge about 2-step equations and your current knowledge that these are vertex angles and that they are equal. Another one, angles ABC and DBE are adjacent angles. Together they form a straight angle. Okay, keep in mind a straight angle means 180 degrees. It's a straight line. If the measure of ABC is 4x degrees and the measure of ABD is 14x degrees, what's the value of x? Right, and solve an equation. So they're adjacent angles, meaning they're side by side, and they form a straight angle. So here's your straight angle. This is 180 degrees. So I'm just going to assume that for this is A, B, and C, and then we have D, B, and E. So let's say this is D, D, B, there's E. So A, B, C is 4x, and this one over here is 14x. Sorry, I realized I made a mistake there on the angle DBE, not ABD over here. So basically, now that we need to know that if we have 4x, which is this angle, and this angle, which is 14x, if we add them together, it's going to be 180, because adjacent angles mean they're side by side, and together they form a straight angle, which means 180 degrees. So basically, these two angles are supplementary, meaning together, when you add them, they're going to be 180 degrees. So now we can solve for x. Well, if we have 4x and we add that to 14x, it's 18x. And 18 times the number is 180. Well, let's find that number, divide by 18. And there we go, 10. So x is 10. There's my equation, and I solved it. And we're all done. So I know it's probably a lot, but we will continue working on this in class. Okay, don't forget to do your form after this.